Woo, big up the race.
Hi guys,
and welcome to Chugging Along. I'm Tim.
I'm Sam.
So yeah, welcome to this video, and we are on a trip to Llangollen on our narrowboat. But in this video we're going to be taking a bit of a detour as we go to Marlow on the River Thames. But more on that later, because firstly we need to say congratulations to the winners of our most recent quiz, Malk and Sue. And it's quite a big win for them because they've actually came second in the previous two quizzes before that. And this one went right down to the last question and they managed to hold on to their lead. So well done, guys. A cushion is on its way to you, of course.
On to today's video, and today it's race day. It's narrowboat versus train, and we found a route where a narrowboat actually might have a chance at defeating a train. So the question is, what's faster, water or rail?
The race is between Henley and Marlow. The first one to touch the Sir Stephen Redgrave statue in Marlow is the winner. So Steve Redgrave was a Olympic rower who won many medals. He is a CBL. He's a certified boat legend.
Narrowboats can usually be seen travelling at 4 miles per hour on the canals, but you can go a lot faster on the River Thames. Why? Because it's nice, it's wide, so you're not going to disturb any more boats, which is great. And in this race we had nature's help because we were travelling downstream. Also, this rail journey is very disjointed, requiring 3 trains, 2 of which are single track branch lines.
So us on the boat didn't have all the advantages as we still had to do 3 locks. But locks on the River Thames are electric powered, and usually they have lock keepers on duty who can do all the hard work for you.
This was a brothers battle royale, with Tim being the proud owner of our boat, Marielle, and his brother Henry working on the railways. Both are very passionate and believe in their modes of transport, and both are very competitive as well. As you may remember, Henry won the triathlon and Tim won the recent Easter egg hunt, so both have 1 win under their belts. For this race, Henry was joined by their dad, John, who is an avid train spotter, and of course I was joining Tim on Marielle just to make sure that he didn't get too competitive and consequently sink our home as a result.
To set the scene, it was a lovely morning. The sun was shining, the spiders were pregnant and ready to pop, and then when my family arrived, the atmosphere got very, very tense. So everyone, let us know in the comments, are you supporting Marielle or the train?
Let the train take the strain.
At 11:30 AM exactly, it was my job to do the countdown and get this race going. Right, on your marks, get set,
Good luck.
and go to Marlow.
Go!
Right, see you at the Sir Stephen Redgrave statue. Oh no, I've got to do the ropes here, I've got to do the ropes. I've got to do the ropes. Sam, help me do the ropes.
And as we started to untie our ropes, Henry and John paced their way towards the station.
Right, here we go. Through downtown Henley.
And just like that, we were away, and the first things that we saw whilst cruising was Henley's glorious town centre, and it wasn't too long until we were cruising under that really impressive bridge.
Henry and John jogged up to Henley station to buy their tickets to Marlow.
It's Station Road here.
Perfect.
And their first journey was to Twyford station, which is a single track branch line with infrequent services.
Whereas Marielle was cruising alongside rowers, surrounded by pleasant hills, and we went right past Temple Island. And the temple here was made in 1771 and is actually the starting place of the Henley Regatta boat race.
Henry and John made it to the station 20 minutes later, where they bought their tickets and realised they had to wait 35 minutes for their first train. Was the gap array too big for them to catch up with Marielle as she was floating downstream?
Right, here we are at Henley Station in the background here. We've got about 20 minutes till our train. Bring on the train.
And yeah, I was feeling posh and relaxed at this point, sipping on a squash and sparkling water. We were already making progress and we were well on our way to get to our first of 3 locks.
Henry and John's first train was to Twyford and it left on time. And with this speedometer app, they showed that right away they were going at least 3 times the speed of Marielle, catching up with us quickly.
And the race was in full swing at this point, with Henry and Dad doing most of the waiting so far. It was now time for us to do some, as we were waiting for boats to leave our first lock of the day. We just wanted to get through this as quickly as possible, didn't we?
Well, we actually got through that lock quite quickly, but that hold-up was the exact type of thing that we didn't need. Luckily, we were the only boat in the lock, and the lockkeeper said that we could just hold on to the centre line as we were going downstream. With other boats, usually you have to try and stop them from crashing into each other. The lockkeeper suggests that you should hold a bow and a stern rope, which actually would have taken longer if we had to have done that.
Going over the Thames between Shiplake and Moorgrave.
The railwayman actually went over the River Thames at this point at Shiplake, which was in our previous cruising vlog, and that meant that their first interchange of the day wasn't too far away.
With both of us rushing to get to our halfway points, we went past Thameside castles, sheep and cruisers and Dutch barges. It was so sunny, but we had no time to spare, so I had to put on Tim's sun cream when he was at the tiller, because unfortunately he had forgotten.
Thank you for that, yeah. Henry and Dad made it to Twyford, and after that they were waiting to board their second train, and the next one was a main line service, just one station to Maidenhead, but this is where they could reach the highest speeds of the journey on a brand new London Crossrail train.
At this point, John was very happy to do a touch of train spotting and train photography whilst waiting at Twyford station.
And whilst that was going on, the Marielle was entering lock number 2 of 3. With decent map progress done, if these 2 locks were done smoothly, surely the Marielle was in with a chance. Sam, did you feel confident that we were going to win at this point?
I did, I suppose, because we've already covered the longest part of the journey, which was from Henley to Hambledon Lock, and that took quite a while. And we knew that the next 2 locks coming up would be in quite quick succession. So I did feel quite positive, but as I looked at the time, I realised we were fast approaching lunchtime, which unfortunately isn't ideal, because at that point, that's when the blue boards start going up and locks become self-service, and you no longer have a lockkeeper's help. Obviously, at this point, we also had no contact with Henry and John. So when we actually got to our second lock and we saw there wasn't a lockkeeper on duty, I knew at this point that we had to get everything right.
So we're at Twyford. This is our next train. It's the 12:58 Crossrail service towards Paddington. This is an electric train. It's a bit of an upgrade on the diesel train on the branch.
During our difficult time, Henry and Dad had got onto that mainline shiny purple train and got up to 90 miles an hour, soon to stop at Maidenhead.
At the same time, we were in Hurley Lock and we saw a very nice picnic area, but we had to do this lock ourselves. Because obviously lockkeepers were off on lunch, unfortunately, but we managed to get help from other boaters who were actually going the other way, and they were relaxed and taking it easy whilst we were pretending that we were operating on a leisurely level rather than being in competition.
So the third and final lock was just a short distance away, where we got to see sheep and a nice bridge, and really we just had to get through this lock, this final lock.
Quite funny, because the most intense part of our journey was actually the most relaxing part of Henry and John's.
Yeah, I did wonder why they didn't seem too bothered to get lunch after the race was finished, and we would have never have known about this if they didn't shamelessly film themselves scoffing pasties shortly before a family meal. For years I was told about how bad that sort of behaviour was. After wiping away the crumbs and photographing a couple more trains, Dad and Henry received a phone call with an update of how we were doing dealing with that vital third and final lock. Well, you're on your last train, are you? How many? Well, we're just going through the last lock now, so yeah, we've been going pretty well ourselves, so yeah, so I reckon it could be close. Yeah, right, see you at the statue. Alright, yeah, you too, bye. Well, he seems to think that they're on their last train and they're a couple of stations away, so if we are going to win, we've got to get through this lock as quickly as possible and get down there as fast as we can. Right, come on, Marielle.
As we came to the third and final lock, there was a big boat that had priority over us going into the lock because they had gotten there before us, and annoyingly at first they didn't shuffle down far enough into the lock to allow us and other boats to fit in. So without a lock keeper there on duty, again lunchtime, we had to communicate with this other boat for them to move down to the front, and eventually all of the boats, including ourselves, were in the lock. And after some help, we were out.
Yeah, just lost a vital couple of minutes and it felt like nothing to everyone else. We were out of that third and final lock and it was time to test Mary L's Barra Shire Yanmar 35 horsepower engine for all it was worth. We now had Marlow in sight, and actually the statue is quite a lot closer to the river than it is the station, and that was a small advantage, and we had to think of every single small advantage that we had to positively get our way to victory here. You know, we were going pretty quickly, but we were never going to overtake the Toffee Thames cruiser that was in front of us in the lock, because they were just a lot better designed for river travel, and probably a lot more powerful engine as well, so we couldn't overtake them, but we were going as fast as we could.
At this point, John was very happy to be on a railway line he had never been on before, and the train made it to Bourne End, where it stopped for a couple of minutes for it to reverse. Now, at this point, the driver walked to the other end of the train and made sure he took this token, meaning that if he had this with him in the cab, there wouldn't be another train on the line to collide with him.
This was a truly stunning part of the River Thames, again with lovely houses and churches. You know, I was a little bit rattled by the phone call that we had and how confident that Henry and Dad seemed, but really it hadn't actually felt like that long ago since we left Henley.
Last stop of Marlow, and it's time we started to leg it, I think.
Wow, beautiful town. And now we could see the famous church spire from the stern, and we were just waiting to catch a glimpse of the park.
Henry and John's train pulled into Marlow station, and now they had to walk across town to get to the statue.
Not an Olympian like Steve Redgrave, are you?
I'm afraid not.
And now the Mary L was also in Marlow, and we could see the park where the statue was, but there was no mooring. And the last mooring spot was taken by, yeah, you guessed it, the Toffee Thames cruiser who was in front of us in that last lock. The only thing we could do was just go a little bit further and temporarily stopping under the Marlow Bridge and me legging it. Right, okay. Let's go.
Henry also started to leg it, leaving John behind, which is quite unfair actually, I think.
Think about leaving Dad behind, I think. Is that fair or not? I don't know.
Sam was holding the boat underneath the bridge whilst I ran into the park to go and try and claim this victory, for all the boaters around the world to unite and finish off this true underdog story. I can see it. I can see the statue. There he is. Sir Steve Redgrave, Olympic champion. And I touched Sir Stephen Redgrave.
Oh, but wait a minute. But wait a minute. It wasn't long, it was about 7 or 8 minutes.
Unfortunately, what Tim hadn't realised.
I think we're going to be the winners. And here it is.
Was that Henry had already touched Sir Stephen Redgrave's statue. And he was hiding behind a tree, and he jumped out as soon as he saw Tim and started taunting him like the eldest sibling that he is.
Right, Tim's coming. I can see him. I can see he's filming. I'm hiding behind the tree so he can't see me. He'll come into shot very shortly. I think he's going to think he's won. And I'm going to break the bad news to him.
And I'm going to be honest, you know, as an older sibling myself, I do agree with that, but I don't condone it.
So there you go. The railwayman had won by 8 minutes. That's it. Now, I'm not usually one for excuses, but, you know, when I think back to it, I think, you know, if we wouldn't have had that bad luck with that Toffee Thames cruiser, you know, waiting for us in the lock, the complication in the lock, them just having the chance of taking that last mooring spot away from us. But to be honest, I don't think the race was lost there. I think between locks 1 and 2, I think that I could have given it a bit more welly. I was looking at the map and I saw how much progress we made. I honestly thought that we were going to quite easily win, weirdly, but obviously, yeah, looking back on that now, that was extremely stupid. So yeah, fair play Henry and Dad. I know it's not easy looking out of train windows and, you know, scoffing pasties sat on station benches, so yes, a well-deserved victory, I'll say.
I know, I could see how gutted you were as you came over and you told me the news and started consoling me, letting me know how close it was. And it was really close, and I do agree. I think maybe that first lock, if we had just maybe gone a bit quicker, maybe we've done it. But congratulations to Henry and John. And just like that, the race was over. We hope you have enjoyed this style of video with narrowboat versus train, and we've actually got another one of these planned. So we'll be travelling through Birmingham, and obviously in Birmingham you've got the canal routes and also lots of different railway routes. So there will be another race.
Hopefully we can get our revenge. So let's get on to today's statistics, where we did 8 miles, 3 locks, in 2 hours 45 minutes, meaning that we had an average speed of 2.9 miles an hour. Wow, surely that won't be beaten. If you haven't seen many of these videos, that's very high. So yeah, and that now makes our trip average 1.8 miles an hour.
Bringing up the average, that's good. So thank you very much for watching this video to the end, and join us next week when we'll be talking about cruising on the Thames and why it's more expensive for us. And we also get to go to a lovely fish and chip shop.
That's right, yeah. So remember, guys, to comment down below, do you think the Mary L should have won this race? Let us know. And remember, no matter what you do in life, you've got to keep chugging.